الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
Alhamdulillah, Ashadu an la ilaha illallah wa la sharika lah. We bear witness that there is no other God except the one God. Absolutely, He is the one God. There is no other God besides Him. The King, the most sacred, the peace, the most faithful, the supreme, the almighty, the most powerful, the most dignified. God be glorified, far above having partners. I begin my sermon today with this beautiful prayer from the glorious Quran. It says, Our Lord, let not our hearts waver now that you've guided us. Shower us with your mercy. You are the grantor. Inshallah. Today we're going to be talking about power of example versus example of power. Everybody in this world is powerful. Everybody has power. Everybody. Everybody in this world has power. As we see here, this is a teacher in the classroom. 100% she has power over her students, right? Now this guy is not driving for Lyft or Uber, but that is his means of transportation, right? He has absolute power over that wheelbarrow that he uses for transportation. And we know these guys, they're in uniform, right? They have power to stop you if you're going too fast or if you're not doing anything wrong actually, right? And we all know this. Imams, the priests, they have powers over their congregations. And all of these guys, various prime ministers, presidents, right, they have power over their subjects, over the people of the countries they're in. So the question now becomes how people use the power they have. Now, we're talking today about example of power versus power of example. Now, this, for the first part of the khutbah, of the sermon, it's negative. This is something we shouldn't do. Basically, it's a giveaway from the first part of the khutbah. We shouldn't be like this. But let me talk about what power is, example of power. In 1945, this atomic bomb was dropped on Japan. And if you see below, right here, the destruction it caused, and it's still causing up till today, that, I tell you, my fellow submitters, is example of power. The ability to just, without caring if there are children there or pregnant women or whatever, just total destruction. That is example of power. Now this is the story in the Quran of Joseph, and when he was in the governor's house, and the lady in that house which he was staying tried to accuse him of rape, right? So in chapter 12:26 it said, she's the one, this is Joseph talking, she's the one who tried to seduce me. A witness from her family suggested, if his garment is torn from the front, then she's telling the truth, right? And he's a liar. And if it's in 27, and if his garment is torn from the back, then she lied and he's telling the truth. So in 12:28, when her husband saw that his garment was torn from the back, he said, "This is a woman's skin. Indeed, your scheming is formidable." Now, this is the point I want us to focus on. In 12:29, then the governor turned to Joseph and said, "Joseph, disregard this incident." It's like it never happened, right? Not talking. This is all he said to his wife. He says, "As for you, my wife, you should seek forgiveness for your sins. You have committed an error." That's all. No apology to Joseph, who was cleared that he didn't do anything wrong, right? So if you ask me, in 12:35, they said, later to it, despite the proof that was established that Joseph was not guilty, he wasn't the one who initiated the whole problem. Later, they saw to it that despite clear proofs that he should go to jail, they sent him to prison. If you ask me, brothers and sisters, I will tell you that is example of power. When you are able to throw somebody in jail for not doing anything wrong, but just you have the ability to do it, so you want to protect your own image. That is example of power. In chapter 27, verse 20, this is Solomon. So he inspected the birds, right? And noted, he said, "Why do I not see the opal? Why is it missing?" Now, for those of you who don't know the opal this is the opal in the Quran. A tiny little bird. So in 27:21 it says, "I will punish him." This is Solomon talking. "I will punish him severely." Fine, that's great. You can do that. Or sacrifice him. Really? Sacrifice him? If you ask me, my fellow submitters, I'll tell you that is example. The people that talk like that, that is example of power. You know, when you're able to go as far as saying you sacrifice somebody, you kill somebody because they came late. And this is another diversion itself. But the next verse that came after this said, Solomon didn't have to wait long. Hope just showed up. So the lesson in this story is about also patience, for people to be patient. Like when let's say you have a restaurant or something, somebody comes late. Don't just go off and say, "I'm going to fire that guy. I'm going to do this." Have patience and see, was he stuck in traffic? What happened? Not to say, "Oh, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to sacrifice him," like Solomon did. People that talk like that is example of power. And this is the greatest abuse of power that we can ever think of. This person called Pharaoh. Here he was saying in chapter 26, for he said, "Did you believe with him?" It means, did you believe with Moses? He was asking his people, "Did you believe with Moses before I gave you permission?" He must be your teacher, right? Who taught you magic? You will surely find out. I will cut your hands and feet on alternate sides. I will crucify you all. That, my fellow submitters, is example of power. People, they talk like that. It's example of power. I take a quote, before I end this first part of the quote, this sermon, I take a quote from this Gandhi. And it says, you know, when you see things going wrong, you're just upset. You say, "Wow." And he says, "You know what? During those times we feel bad, say, when in despair, I remember that all through history, the way of truth and love has always won." He said, there have been tyrants like Saddam Hussein, Hitler, and all of those people, and murderers. And for a time, they seem invincible. They can seem invincible. It's like nobody can touch them, right? It's like, you know. But in the end, they always fall. People, they go with power, you know. In the end, they always fall. And that is the same thing the Quran tells us in chapter 28, verse 81. It says, we then caused the earth to swallow him and his mansion. No army could have saved him against God. It was not destined to be a winner. Tubuela. Alhamdulillah, ashadu an la ilaha illallah wa la sharika lah. So this is the good stuff that I want people to take away from this sermon. The power of example. Not the other way around, example of power. No. We want power of example, inshallah. And that's why we read in chapter 26, verse 83, it's a beautiful prayer. My Lord, grant me wisdom and include me with the righteous, inshallah. Let the example I set for the future generations be a good one. That's what we want. The power of example. Now, to help me with, illustrate what I mean by the power of example, I share with you this story of this little girl. She went to the beach with her parents. She went, just to the beach and just to have fun. And then when she got to the beach, she saw the beach was littered with thousands of starfish. And these starfish, they've been washed up during, like a storm. All right. So when she came to each starfish, she will pick each one up and fling it back into the ocean. So she kept doing this. She would pick up the starfish, throw it back into the ocean. She kept at it for a few minutes, and then as she was doing this, a man came from behind her and said, "Little girl, what are you doing? Why are you wasting your time?" He said, "Look at the beach. Look at all these thousands of starfish. You can't even begin to make a difference. Try to save them, or, why are you wasting your time?" MashaAllah, some of these little people, they're smart people. This little girl didn't even answer the man. She picked up another starfish, right? She picked up another starfish, all right, and threw it into the ocean. Then looked at the man and said, "You know what? I made a difference to that one." Right? The man was so shocked, right? It was like the man thought about what the little girl had said. He got shocked. Like, here, I made a difference to that one. So inspired by what this little girl has said and done, he joined her, right? So now they're two, right? And they began for another few minutes throwing those, and before you know it, and other people joined. They started off with one, the man joined her, they became two. Before you know it, people saw what they were doing and then they joined. To me, that is what I call the power of example. That is what I call power of example. When you're able to use your example to influence other people to do good, that is power of example versus example of power, which is like to destroy. Now, I share with you the ultimate power of example from God. MashaAllah, very, very powerful. Before I do that, let me again refresh your memory with this verse right here in chapter 59:23. These are some of the attributes of God, right? I'm not going to go through them, but I want you to see the highlighted one. It says, "Is the Almighty." He is the most powerful, right? Now, we keep those two attributes in mind, and then Listen to what God said to Moses here. He said, go to Pharaoh, for he transgressed, right? But speak to him nicely. He may take heed or become reverent. God knew that Pharaoh was not going to change. Not only that, I shared with you that God, couple of his attributes, the Almighty, the most powerful. For him to do anything, it's like be and it is. He could have just wiped out Pharaoh just like that. That is a lesson for us to be careful how we use our power. All right? And to me, that action right there is an incredible power of example from an awesome God. Incredible power of example from an awesome. So as submitters, we should lead by the power of our example, not the example of our power, is all I'm saying. As submitters, we should be thoughtful, peaceful, and loving within ourselves. We should be people who show leadership, right? Rather than people who demand it or force it on people. My way or the highway. No. We should be thoughtful, peaceful. We should be people who show leadership. We should lead by the example. We should lead by the power of our example, not the example of our power. Very profound. Salat. Salat al-Jum'ah. Allahu Akbar. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghayril maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Allahu Akbar. Sami Allahu liman hamidih. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghayril maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Allahu Akbar. Sami Allahu liman hamidih. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Congratulations and happy Friday.